the night. So why is a war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, 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 peace. Alright. Isn't it time for the start time? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one hurt, with one need, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace in peace, peace. Alright, everyone cry. Round the world we're all alive. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time for the start time? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one earth, with one need, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace in peace, peace. Alright, peace, peace together. Peace. Thank you guys for joining me on Shadow Chasing Show. I'm on, you'll find me actually on Facebook as well as the YouTube chat room. Thank you for being part of this program. Looking forward to having you guys come on to join. And I'm sorry a little bit late, but I actually had a board meeting. So people do have board meetings. So anyways, Keith's excuses. I'm 72 and past my bedtime. Well, my wife turned 72 and she's still awake. So No excuse. What can I say? Anyways, I have an interesting story I want to talk to you guys about, because I did mention a good friend of mine, the late Jordan Maxwell, and what's happening across the world right now. And a lot of you that are awake, okay, know about this. See, Jordan actually had talked about this sort of thing for many, many years. Okay, this is basically called the matrix of the matrix of power. That's what Jordan's been talking about for many, many years. He's done the research for, where are we here? Where is that book going to go to? Here, let's go this way. Da-da-da-da. Ta-da! That's the matrix of the power. Okay, so Jordan actually, if you want to find his books, some of them are actually available still on Amazon. It's worth your while to buy. It will become a collector's item, so the sooner the better to get this book. You're going to learn a lot from this book. Okay, absolutely, you get a lot from it, because this is one of his books he's written. I was very fortunate. I got it autographed. Good friend, because it became a good friend. But Jordan wanted me to have this, and he also gave me an award, something as a joke, because he really enjoyed my company and interviewing him many times. And also big shout out to my good friend also, Johnny Enoch, who actually was I would say one of the people closest to him. That there's many great people out there. That Danny Brinkley has known him for about 50 plus years. Quite a few other people that knew Jordan and also took care of Jordan before he left this world. I'm not sure what your names are. If I got your name suddenly, sirs and madam, but all the great people that did take care and did support Jordan's work. We lost them over a year ago, and or it must be a couple years now. I have to look at the date. But Jordan passed away, and he did say it was close to his time. I remember him being at one of the last UFO conference. I was there when he said those words. This will be his last. But he also wanted to expose something, and he did tell the truth. He actually exposed something that the Men in Black told him not to say. Well, Jordan has nothing to be afraid of, right? Like, he's pretty well, he said, I'm leaving this world and I'm going to say it. And he did. Jordan actually said it right. He was the last person that spoke at the UFO conference. And you'll see here, over here, folks, there's my good friend Alien, and that very same cup came from Laughlin, Nevada. This UFO mega conference. That's where I was doing my presentation there as well, just like Jordan. And a lot of people that I did become good friends of. Where here's that cup here, just above that cup. And anyways, I really enjoyed myself being there, having to do the presentation. I didn't realize there's so many great informative people that, all of their experiences with other UFOs, contactees, or whatever, how they channel them. That's everything to do, and anything and everything that relates to UFOs. Okay. And also then they can talk about the conspiracies and that sort of thing, or people call it conspiracy theory. Well, number one, nothing really is conspiracy theory. That's the CIA that actually made up that crap. Okay, so we already know that. Hello, it's Linda and Keith. And yeah, drop this weekend is that Trump signed the U.S. into BRICS. Does this include Canada? I do not know. Probably anything that Trump signs, folks. You guys may not know this. Before I go any further, anything that Ottawa passes has to go to Washington, D.C. Did you know that? Because our country no longer is controlled in Canada. What you see on TV is just a movie in Canada. It's all controlled by the military. So they're just letting you see the game, the story, the perchance. But that's not everything you think you know what's going on. You don't. That's why I'm saying this is what this whole book is about. Okay. What Jordan had said, let me quote from his back of his book. It says here, Jordan it's considered to be the world's foremost authority on ancient religions and modern conspiracies. His work on the true meaning of symbols, logos, and company insignias has also fascinated audiences around the world for years. He grew up in a family that had high-ranking insiders into international politics and religion, and as so was privy to behind-the-scenes information that few people could imagine during the time that he was growing up. This intrigued him and set him off on a lifetime of investigation, and this book is the result, or rather a partial result, of his many years of investigations. Now, who really runs the world? There's a question. Who controls the money, the politics, and almost every facet of your life without you knowing a thing about it? Okay? Is such a thing possible? Explore this fascinating subject with a man who has devoted a lifetime of study to uncovering our hidden masters. These are a number of more highly visible researchers who are speaking out and writing on this subject, and Jordan Maxwell has, for the most part, remained in the shadows, similar to those who manipulate the world affairs. For few know that the primary source for many of these people has been Jordan Maxwell. He has been the one who's been doing it, was doing it for over 60 plus years. His files of documentation are enormous, yet this is his first book as a sole author. He previously appeared in the book of Your Church Does Not Want You to Read and the Old Time Religion with Paul Tice. He has made countless radio and TV appearances, including 3 CBS television specials, and has numerous videos of his work available. We are honored to present this powerful and informative book to the public. Now, I want to show you some stuff here. I'm going to review some of his stuff that you guys need to know, which I find is very important. Not use the word fascinating, but very important, because, and you're going to have people come in the chat room, they're going to go out. They're going to come in, go out. Oh, yeah, I don't want to hear this. Oh, yeah, he's just talking about this. Oh, I don't want to hear that. Well, guess what? Is showing you what really is going on in this world, folks. This is a wake-up call for all of you. If you think you're not in the movie, you think that your government is, you're getting mad at Trudeau, you're getting mad at Biden, you're getting mad at all these prime ministers and presidents across the world for what they do. Okay? Those are your dictators, not your leaders. Those are your dictators. They were elected not by you. It was themselves. They chose who was going to go into government. Okay? They made a decision who was going to come in. You think your votes made you where you are. It didn't. Your votes did not go nowhere. Your votes were no big deal. We're going to put Trudeau in here. No big deal. We're going to put Biden in here. But they want you to show something. Now, there are people out there that did it purposely, and they did it because they cheated their way out. They cheated their way in. And they're also trying to cheat their way out of trouble. They're going to blame the person who's actually going after them. Okay? So all the people that we're going after, say, for example, we're going after Trudeau for all the crap that he's been doing, harming our citizens of Canada, which basically we already know that. Okay, he's making all these stupid, ridiculous laws. Absolutely. Bill C 367, Bill C 36, Bill C 63, Bill C 10. All these stupid bills. Why is Trudeau trying so hard to pass all these bills? To hide his investigation of himself. Anything that you're going after him for, he's going to reverse it to make sure that you can't track him. That's what this is all about. Same with Biden, okay? Anything that Trump or anyone else goes after Biden, okay, they're going to put an impeachment on these people and make sure that they're going to make up some crap story, or someone, well, I'm going to pay you this X amount of dollars. You're going to go to court and you're going to go after this man and stop him from investigating Biden, or stop anyone from investigating any leader of the world. Now, mind you, sometimes they go as far, they'll try to knock somebody out, but they can't touch the commander in chief. Now, why are they going after Biden? Because we already know the stuff that's going on. Now, some of you are still shy and going, well, how do you know? How do you know? Well, guess what? We know, I know more than you know. If you don't know, go on the Telegram and come to our chat rooms and you'll see the truth. There's so many people that have exposed these people, and these are truth seekers. These are people that have told you the story, exactly what's going on. Absolute truth. Why do you think a lot of our countries have been DEW'd? Okay. Deep energy weapons. How come they all have been burning all over the world? Why have they been doing this? Because they're trying to make sure that you don't have enough oxygen to survive. You having those trees that gives you your oxygen, because that's why they call it a carbon law or a carbon problem. Okay, climate change. They're trying to say, okay, well, if there's no trees, then basically see, here's the problem. See what you people are doing. You're destroying all these your trees. We're not doing anything wrong. Okay, we're not doing anything wrong, and that's the thing. It's not us that's doing the wrong. It's our governments that have been doing this to keep control of a society. We have been slaves, and this is where even Jordan Maxwell even said, okay, in his piece, and he wrote in here, okay, it says right here, right in front of us, the question mark is, who really runs the world? Who controls the money, the politics, and almost every facet of your life without knowing knowing a thing about it? And is such a thing possible? Okay. And he also puts in there that we have been slaves for a long, long time. Why have we been slaves? Because we let them. We wanted to believe that these governments were good people, but they weren't. They're self-elected. They are making you think that, oh, well, I voted for this person. You have to vote. You have to vote because that's the law. You have to vote. Of course, they want to make you believe that you actually did do it. But it doesn't go to them. They don't really get proper votes. It actually is corrupted. Okay? There is actually a government that's actually, or a company that's based out of our country in Canada that messes with that machine, and they're the ones that make the votes. Okay? They're the ones that make the judgment. All these very multi-rich people are the ones that are telling you, well, I want you to work, I want you to be in this government right now. So we have Trudeau in Canada. Okay, we got Trudeau here. We already know it was not him, it's fake Trudeau, but they want you to see the mistakes he's making. Why do you think his wife left him? Because it's not his real, and that's not her real husband. And there's a lot of people that we know right now today that I know personally that know of him personally. And they know too that it's not him. Okay. And even though people say, well, he's not himself today. Of course he's not. He's not who he is. Hello. Real people that know people, they would know who they really are. Same with Putin. When he was replaced to step in as the new leader of Russia, even his wife said, that's not my husband. And you hear that and see that. And same thing with Trudeau's wife. And she said, she didn't say that's not my husband. She wants to divorce him because she already knows that her real husband's gone. And that the one that she's with is not her husband. And he's not meant to be there. That's why they broke up, because they're not the real couple. Their marriage was annulled, and one went directly to Gitmo. Okay, now you know. One went directly to Gitmo. But you're going to find that out down the road. The thing is that why I'm bringing this up and why I have to tell the story, because I shared this before for, I'd say, months back, over a year ago, I talked about this matrix, power matrix. And the reason I brought this up because we're still seeing it. We're still seeing the reveals all over the world. Okay. Why do you think that, for example, in the States, in New York, why did the Statue of Liberty, why did so-called lightning come down and hit the torch of Statue of Liberty? Because it's a satanic symbol. Okay? You can barely see that. It's a satanic symbol. It's not just about liberty itself. There's many of them just like it across the world with the different features of other caricatures. Okay? So the symbolic headdress of the statue represents the sun, S-O-N, and sun, with its crown of thorns, the rays of the sun. Now, this is what they're telling you, but they're showing you something here. When I read this to you, you're going to be totally shocked. But what I want to do is to show you guys something here. And if you don't know much about Jordan Maxwell, I mean, here's a story here regarding the White House. They made the White House and Whitehall in England the same type of building, built the same way. Why? Because it's a Freemason-built building. Even the parliamentary building in Winnipeg, Manitoba, is made by the Freemasons as well. Every parliamentary building in Parliament, okay, Parliament, okay, Parlia is a ment, okay, that means a place of money. Okay, it's a place where they tell you what they want to do. Not for you, it's for them. And every building that's Parliament or Parliament, even the Golden Boy on top of the roof of the Winnipeg Parliament building, that's satanic. That's a satanic little statue on top of that thing. People thought, oh, it looks like, Golden Boy's got wings on his feet. Da, 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 da. No, you got to see, folks. You got to read it or look at the caricature. Look it up. You'll find out yourself. Okay. I just want to show you. You can do the research, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to show you. See what's going on. So we're going to go here. And let's see here. I'm going to go to this on the screen. This is Jordan Maxwell. Okay, and I'll switch back here. And Jordan says, nothing in this world operates the way you think it does. Banks do not loan money. Governments are not empowered to protect you. The police department is not there to serve you. Institutions of higher learning, colleges and educational institutes are not there to educate you. The entire superstructure of civilization in the Western world is a combination of a brilliantly put together and well-planned schemes to direct the minds of the people in such a way as to serve their masters. Jordan Maxwell, born December 28, 1910, passed away March 23rd, 2022. It's been 2 years since we lost him. 2 years, a little over 2 years. And yet, this man is absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed his company. So, what I want to also point out too, let's see here. I want to get to this part here. The maritime law. If you guys don't know about the maritime law, it's important that you do know of this, because once you learn what the maritime law means, and if you already know, that's great. Please share it. But I want to show this to you, what the maritime law it's all about. Now, it's a frozen, but I got the real one. I'll play it after. That's only a picture, so somebody just froze it. They didn't play it through. Let me bring up my file. I'll bring up Jordan's. Here. Let's see here. Stop playing with me. Sometimes my computer gives me hiccups and starts to delay things. Okay, here. Nope. Okay, mixes. Now, oh, yeah, I moved my files, didn't I? Oh, I know where it is. Hang on. Did I place it in here? I think I did. Okay, it's Bill Cooper, Jordan Maxwell. That says I got so many of his videos, but I want to show you the one here that relates to the maritime law, which is explained. A lot of people actually do know about the maritime law, but if it wasn't for Jordan to share the story about maritime law, and others will tell you, you go like, my ass, okay. Let's see, Ron Cut, propaganda, join world religion. I got so many videos. I want to bring the maritime law. Where are you? And I also have his last video that I'll play. The last one he did his presentation at the UFO conference when I was there, and he was presented a UFO like award, like it was amazing. Okay.
Your mind is like a parachute.
Now this one here is about birth. Well, we've been manipulated by birth and let's see what Jordan says. Let's move this one in here so you guys get to see it. Here we go. Why are you not letting me see this? Oh, here it is.
Your mind is like a parachute. Doesn't work if it's not open. Right. Once you begin to open your mind and start studying and reading and getting the background on symbols and terms and words, you begin to understand that we've been manipulated from birth. We need to back up and go all the way back to day one and start re-educating yourself the way the world really works. Your mind is like a...
So that's what he's pointing out. He's telling you what he's saying. Okay. Now that's one of them. And let's see, this is the one right here.
One of the most important symbols in the Druid...
This is all to do with Druid. And let's bring that one up on the screen as well.
One of the most important symbols in the Druid religion was a magic wand, like the conductor of an orchestra. He waves his magic wand, and you have better dance to the tune, because he's the boss. So the magic wand, like Merlin the magician, magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree, made out of Hollywood. So once you understand, it's the magic of Hollywood that's orchestrating the whole world to dance to a new tune.
Wow. So where does that leave us?
It leaves you in a world of trouble. If you are ignorant, ill-informed, and unread, you need to open your mind and discover for the first time that law, courts, education, it's all part of a system. You need to begin to open your mind and study. Understand how the world really works. One of the most important symbols.
Okay, so now you know. This is an introduction of all the things I want to show you guys for what he's been sharing with you for many years. And let's go to.
Give you a quick example about the maritime.
Okay, this is about the maritime law. I want you guys to see this. If you haven't seen it, please share it, but here's how it is.
Law, the law of water, the law of the sea. Money is water by law. This is why all ships are female by law. All ships, rocket ship, sailing ship, airship, it doesn't matter. If it's a ship, it's female because the captain always refers to his ship as she. Right. She's a good ship or she's done this. Why she? Because she delivers the product. Without she, there is no product, right?
It's a vessel. It's a
of course it is a vessel. So is your body. It's a vessel that produces a product.
Right.
So when the ship pulls into harbor, it stops, and where it parks is called its berth. It's berthing a ship, or she sits in her berth. And every item on that ship, coming out that ship, is money. It's money changing hands. Right. It came in on water. So every piece has to have what is called a certificate of manifest, because she is sitting in her berth. That's why when you were born, your mother's water broke. You were inside a container of water. Her water broke and you came out, and therefore you have to have a birth certificate. And it's got to be signed by the dock, because that's where the ship is sitting. The dock is where the ship sits. Once you begin to see how the words and terms are all based on maritime admiralty, the law of water, the cash flow, the liquid asset, it goes all the way back to the English or British domination of the seas.
Everybody's been taking Jordan's videos and they're putting their own background music into it. So this is actually doubled. They're taking the credit, they're putting their name on it, which I don't think is right, but that's what they do.
What?
Now, here's something here. This one here is a little bit older. I'm not sure which one that George's talking about here, but you need to see this one. These are some of his video shorts. He's actually been interviewed for a couple hours on some of them, but here's that show.
Why does Hollywood continue to pump out motion pictures depicting murder and violence and bloodshed? These conspirators, these people, make the movies showing you what the problem is. Then they make the movies to show you what the solution is. All tapes and movies influence people's minds. Why is it that drugs are brought into this country daily and we're not able to do anything about it? We're not able to do anything about the aliens pouring in across the border. It is very simple. What your government pays for, it gets. The government gets what it wants. When we understand that, then we look at universities and schools, government-financed institutions of education, and see the kind of students and the kind of education that's being turned out by these government-financed schools. Logic will tell you that if what is being turned out in those schools was not in accord with what the state and the federal government wanted, then it would change it. The bottom line is that the government is getting what they have ordered. They're getting what they have paid for. They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment, so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it.
Now you know. So, okay, here's one, another one here. I'll save that one there. It's the last one, Jordan Maxwell. Okay, this one here, I think it's important. We'll bring that one up.
When you begin...
No, I'll do better than that. People are playing music in the background. You don't need that one. I'll give you the better one than that.
Dress of hat.
Okay. This one here is going to be in. There we go.
hat that the Pope wears is impacted by a god named Dagon. Dagon was a god of the Philistines, and Dagon comes from the word dag, which means fish. So now we see the Pope's headdress. On the top is the Pope's mitre. But when turned, you then see he's actually wearing a fish head, the fish god Dagon, because he's representing the worship of an ancient Phoenician god. So this is why today Christians on the back of their cars, you will see, have a fish symbol. And that's to denote them as Christians worshiping Jesus. No, it's a fish symbol because it's denoting Dagon, the fish god.
You get it? Everybody thought they're doing their Christian thing. Okay.
I want to ask you.
Bring this down. Some volumes are louder than others because of the interviews. So we'll see what happens here. Bring that up and see if that's not a repeat.
Some very important questions about this point. For instance, why is Hollywood continually bombarding our country and this world?
Oh, this is the same one. He's got, this is an extension, but they've actually cut it in such a continuation of it. Oh, this one here.
You see, there are two kinds.
Okay. Here we go.
Of law. This is a subject I love. I've been talking about this for years. There are two kinds of law on the earth that rule the whole world, but most people don't know that. All over the world, all governments are ruled by what is called civil law. Civil law goes back to a Latin word, civili, which goes back to the word illy. Oh God, I mean, we go on for hours on this stuff. Civil law, which is called in all countries the law of the land. So you'll say, well, you can't do that because it's against the law of the land. The law of the land is civil law, Roman civil law, the law of the land. But there is a second law which also operates all over the earth identical. It's called UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. That is the law of God in the world of business. I don't care if you're in Japan, in Africa, in China, in Istanbul, Turkey. If you have a company, if you have a corporation, if you are doing business where you buy and sell and make money, you are operating on this earth under something called UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. Because if all countries work on a different commercial code, then nobody could do business with anybody. You couldn't trust Japan to pay you. Japan couldn't trust America to pay them for the cars because everybody has their own laws. Under the Caesars of Rome, they established under Caesar that all nations in the empire that do business, everybody plays on a level field. If you do business in Africa with China, you pay them. And if Africa does business with American companies, you pay them. You pay. Whatever it is you're doing business, you don't mess around. The most severe law in this world is called UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. It's the Bible of business on the earth. Uniform Commercial Code. The Uniform Commercial Code is based directly on Vatican canon law, on the Roman canon law. Consequently, when a ship pulls into port, it pulls in and stops, and it's called in its berth. The ship is now in its berth. Because it is on the law of the high seas, or commercial maritime, UCC commercial law rules the seas. So when the ship pulls into its berth, the first thing the captain must do is to present a certificate of manifest to the port authorities, which means that the port authorities need to know how much is on this ship that you're bringing into our country and our economy. How many TVs, how many cars, whatever you're bringing, how much you're bringing into our economy. So you have to have a certificate of manifest of what is the value of your ship here. What are you doing? Consequently, when you were born, you come out of your mother's water. Therefore, you must have a birth certificate, a certificate of manifest, because you are a corporation-owned item. You are a human resource. This goes back to the German Nazi concept that every human coming out of their mother's water must be birthed. And therefore, you have to have a certificate, a manifest, to see how much this individual is going to make for us in our new world order. I'm telling you that until you understand the laws, the symbols, the emblems, what these words mean, you're never going to suspect how far gone we really are. Did you know, for instance, that your birth certificate is a security on the stock exchange in the New York stock market? Did you know that? Because if you order your birth certificate, get a new one, order your birth certificate, only costs you, sometimes it's free, it only costs you a few dollars. Order your birth certificate. On your birth certificate, all birth certificates in this country, on the bottom, it will tell you this is printed on security papers. Do not accept it not on full color security paper. Then on the right-hand corner, you will always have a series of numbers, red numbers, printed on the birth certificate. Those numbers are a security stock exchange number on the World Stock Exchange. You go to any good stock office and ask them, check these numbers in your computer and see how much your stock is worth, the certificate. And they will check it on the New York Stock Exchange and find your birth certificate is a stock on the stock exchange in America. Why? Because you are worth money to the international bank that bought you in 1930. We need to wake up. This is serious stuff.
So now you know. He's not kidding. He's been trying to tell people this for years. Let's see here, that one there. Let's see. Let's go to Saturn. Okay, this is important, guys. When you talk about all black, when you're wearing black. So when you wear black, this all relates to judges, education. When you graduate, more to here goes.
You're going to a court. The whole idea of a court is like I said, basketball court. It's a game. This team stands up and throws the ball back in the other guy's court. And that team of lawyers throws the ball back in this guy's court. And the judges comes out, he's a referee because he's wearing a black robe. Black robes represent the planet Saturn, the lord of money and banking and law. Saturn was the god of banking and law. And his priest of Saturn always wore black robes. That's why the Catholic Church wears a black robe. That's why the rabbis wear black robes. When you graduate from high school, you wear a black robe. The whole idea of the Saturnian is called Saturn. The god Saturn was Lord of the Rings. So women were told to listen to their god, so they would wear earrings, because Saturn is the Lord of the Ring. And men were to get married before their god, so they wear a wedding ring. You need to understand there is a world of occultism, manipulation, exploitation of the human race with words and terms and symbols that you don't even know is happening right in front of you. So you've got a court. The whole idea in a court is a game to put the ball back in the other guy's court. And the judge is going to rule from the bench. The word bench is a Latin word for a bank. So he's ruling for the bank. Why? Because somebody's going to have to pay their debt to society. Somebody's going to pay. When the day is over, somebody's going to lose and they're going to pay. And the judge doesn't care because he's getting paid anyway, so he doesn't care. He's a referee. That's why he wears a black robe. And when the judge walks out, everyone rises. Why? The same reason when a Catholic priest walks out, everyone rises, because the Catholic Church operates under the same maritime admiralty law as a court in America. That's why in Catholic churches you always see 3 steps going to the altar. Those are the first 3 steps of the first degrees of Freemasonry, first, second, and third degree. Once you're on the third, you get in the 3rd degree. Now you're going before the judge. It's the 3 degrees of Masonry. So then you bring in the occult world of Freemasonry, all the secret societies of the Knights Templars, the World Bankers, the religious orders. All of this stuff is connected thousands of years ago that you don't know anything about. And once you start seeing how in court the judge rules from the bench, which a bench is a Latin word for a bank. And where do you find banks if they're on both sides of a river? They're called river banks. What does a river bank do if it doesn't direct the flow of the currency? Because your money is called currency. Because it's the cash flow, the liquid assets, the juice. And either you got it or you don't. Money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water. Maritime admiralty.
Okay. There's more to come. So let's see here. This is actually based out of, it's called the Jordan Maxwell. This page here is actually on Telegram. A young fellow actually started this up to honor Jordan Maxwell. This is called the Jordan Maxwell Tribute. I have a lot of files of Jordan Maxwell on my computer, but I want to bring in some pieces here. I think it's important for all of us to see. I want you guys to understand there's a lot of stuff here that relates to what Jordan talks about. I want to bring in, this one here, and let's see. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. Just hang on a second. That's 35 minutes. Okay. If you want to, if any of you folks out there want to see any Jordan Maxwell's pieces, please feel free, and I can send them, email them to you. Just send me your email address. You can email me shadowchaser1 @gmail.com, and I'll send you the longer version of his videos. So these are some of the brief ones. Let's see if this one here, how long is this one here for? That one is for too long. Yeah, Project Camelot. Okay, that's too long. It's 47 minutes. This one here. Okay, we're going to do this one here. I'll bring this one up. It's about 5 minutes. Like I said, folks, it's good to watch this because you have a better understanding what this whole thing is about, why we have been manipulated for years, why we became slaves. And people, you can either like it or dislike it, but it's important to learn. This is going to help you more about this than anything else. So Jordan has been asked to come out and do so many presentations all over the world. Even the Princess of Saudi Arabia even invited him out to their country, and he stayed there for 3 months. She wanted him to share with her and the people there about what Jordan's knowledge is regarding his work. They were strongly supportive of it, and they loved his work, and that's why they were always there to stand by on his work. So, but there were other people out there that didn't like what Jordan was doing, and they even went as far as stealing all of his years and years of I would say records of all the things that he saved for years and years. He had boxes and boxes of files that he saved up for about 60 years. One day somebody broke into his house and didn't steal money, didn't steal the furniture. They stole all of his research, everything, wiped him out completely. Then they went after his website and they locked it out to make sure he couldn't get in it. And for some reason, somebody else actually had control of it, and he couldn't reach that person who tried to manipulate it. So Jordan had to start all over again. It took him a long time. So you know, it hurt, it broke his heart, but he knew one day that some people were going to try to stop him from what he was sharing, because whenever anybody comes after you and starts taking things away from you or try to stop you, then you know you know very well that you're doing the right thing. So this is him talking about regarding the control system of the world.
I think the one thing I'd like for you to take away from anything that I say today is this one point, that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. The police aren't who you think they are. The sheriff is not who you think he is. Banks do not do what you think they do. Governments don't operate anywhere near the way you think they do. And that's why today, when you look at what's going on in the world today, none of it makes any sense. It's all crazy. It makes no sense at all. Seems very destructive. But actually, in point of fact, you don't know how the system works. It's working perfectly fine. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And the people, the masses, are entertained with television and alcohol and drugs, and the wealthy continue to get wealthy. And so it's working perfectly fine once you understand how the world really works, and nothing works the way you think it does. My whole life, I have been interested in theology and religion, and that's my real love. And I've spent all my awakened hours of research throughout the country and throughout the world studying theology and religion, but not to learn from it, but to learn about it. And it's a fascinating story once you see how our religions came into being, and you begin to see things that you've never seen before, and begin to have questions that never occurred to you before. And so that's been my major love. But I also, in the early 80s, very early 80s, came into contact with some people who were experts on government banking. And I was in their company for many years. And I learned how governments work, and it was absolutely astounding to me to see the real truth. It's taken me 48 years to get here tonight, but I'm going to give you a secret that I've learned. I'm going to give this to you for free. This is a secret, and it's a very powerful secret. People will always, financially and in every other way, people will always support what they want to hear. They will not support what they don't want to hear. If you like country music, you're not going to pay $30 for a rap concert. If you like a particular movie star, you're not going to go see somebody else. People will always, if you like a particular kind of food, you're not going to the opposite restaurant. So people will always support what they want to hear. And the one thing around the world that the ancient peoples and anyone who has traveled and dealt with the public, you will find the one thing that people, generally speaking, do not want to hear is the truth. Nobody is happy when they have to be faced with the truth. And so there are some brave people, like maybe you here today, who are at least open to hear something that may conflict with what you believe or what you know, but at least you're truth seekers. That's what I have always been, as a truth seeker. I always say I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything, because I'm at least smart enough to know how much I don't know. But when you begin to break down how government works, banks work, you begin to see a whole world that you've never known. The word I use is occult. Occult simply means hidden. And this is exactly what is going on in the world today. Our governments, banks, institutions of education, etc., are operating on a totally occult or hidden bases. And so what we are told and given to understand is not the truth. Let me give you an example. And how many people have heard me lecture or talk about the maritime system of commerce? Okay, so most people at least have heard about the subject. For those of you who haven't, I'll just give you some examples. Oh, when you go into court, why do you have to go to court? You play tennis on a court. You play basketball on a court. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. So you have a team of lawyers, and they throw the ball back in the other guy's court, and that team throws the ball back in the other guy's court, and the judge is a referee. And he doesn't care who wins or loses. He's going to get paid anyway. So he wears a black robe. Black robes, most people never question, why do Catholic priests wear black robes? Kids that graduate from high school wear black robes. Judges wear black robes. Rabbis wear black robes because black robes represent the planet Saturn. They are a symbol for the planet Saturn. Saturn was called by the ancient people Lord of the Rings, and Saturn is Lord of the Rings. This is why women were told in the ancient world to listen to their God, and the concept was they would wear an ear ring. Men were to get married before their gods. They would wear a wedding ring because the old ancient god of the Middle East, one of the ancient gods of the Middle East, was the planet Saturn. Saturn was directly connected to Yahweh, the Hebrew God. And so this is why even today the Jews celebrate the worship of Saturn. Saturn in the old Phoenician language was called Shabbath. Look up in the Phoenician language, you will find that the planet Saturn was called Shabbath. And his worship to honor him once a week was called Sabbath. So when the Jews are having Sabbath, they're actually paying homage to their god Saturn, Lord of the Rings. And so when you start breaking down where religions have come from, theologies have come from, the six-pointed star, for instance, is called the Star of David. Actually, it's not the Star of David. All the encyclopedias and reference works will tell you that it's called the Star of Saturn. It is a hexagram. Hexagrams represented the planet Saturn. So, and then when you look at the Christian system of things, the church is a disgrace, in my opinion, period. The Christian church is a disgrace. Everything that comes out of the Christian church in America is a disgrace. It's filled with lies, deception, innuendos. It is a money-making corporation. It operates under maritime admiralty law. And there is a whole world of knowledge that Christians have not been given about the scriptures, about who wrote the Bible, where it came from. I have found that even Judaism is not a BC religion. It did not exist in the BC, so when we talk about ancient Jerusalem, there was no ancient Israel. Jerusalem, yes, but no ancient Israel. So when you think about and how preachers and religious leaders talk about ancient Israel this and ancient Israel that, in point of fact, Israel is not a BC religion. The whole concept of the Old Testament was developed right around the 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th century AD. So that the Old Testament is not an ancient record of an ancient people. There was no ancient Israel. Two of the greatest scholars, archaeologists in Israel, have written a book called Unearthing the Bible. And these two men, these two archaeologists, are the best and the brightest of the archaeologists in Israel. And in their book, basically, that's what they said. There was no Moses, there was no King Solomon, there was no King David. The entire thing was written probably in the 8th, 9th, and 10th century AD in Europe, developed and ultimately taken. All of that was taken by the Jesuits in the Catholic Church and rewoven into a story and given to us today as an ancient Israel. There was no ancient Israel, never existed. There was no Moses, there was no King Solomon. Solomon was Sol Om On. Sol is Latin for the sun. Om is the Hindu word for the creative force. And On is the name of the sun in Egypt. The Greeks call it Heliopolis, but the Egyptians call the city of the sun On. Go look in a dictionary, look up the word On. It will tell you it's the city of the sun in Egypt. This is why you flip a light switch on, because it was a city of light. So you take Sol, Om, On, the three names of the sun in the ancient esoteric languages, it becomes Sol, Om, On, or Solomon. Even in the ancient Bibles, the old Bibles from the 12th, 13th, and 14th century, in the Bible, it didn't say King David. It kept talking about King Druid. And incidentally, the system of government and laws that we live under today in America and in the Western world is a Druidic system. America is a Druidic country. And Canada is Druidic. Like I said, Western civilization is a Druidic establishment.
Druid.
The Druids were a very powerful priesthood in Europe, even before the Roman Empire existed.
Yep.
And they were the attorneys, the lawyers, the religious leaders, the politicians. It was called the Druidic system. And one of the most important symbols in the Druidic system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And orchestra leaders and conductors use a magic wand. That's a Druid symbol. And the Druid symbol of the magic wand was made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And the entire establishment in Hollywood is a Druidic system. So if you don't understand Druidic symbols, you'll never know what's going on in Hollywood and where they're being financed, who's financing them, how this stuff really works in relation to government. There's an enormous amount of material out on the web showing pictures from motion pictures from 5, 6, 7 years before 2000, before 9/11, in which 9/11 is in motion pictures. And the original film of Matrix, in the original Matrix movie, the star is giving some kind of an affidavit to sign, which is his identification or something. And the camera zooms in on it for just a moment when he's signing it. But if you stop the film, stop it and back it up and zoom in, you will see the document is about something that is going to happen. It says September 11, 2001. And this was way before September 11, before 9/11. Chris Carter, classic example when I'm talking about Hollywood. Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files. When X-Files ended, Chris Carter, the producer, started a whole new television series called The Lone Gunman. And the very first movie was a lead-off movie for the new television series. And in that movie, that came out right around February or March of 2001. February or March of 2001, Chris Carter's new television show called Lone Gunman was started on Fox television. And in the very first episode, it's talking about how factions within the U.S. government were going to fly 757s into the World Trade Center and lock them down purposely. And in the movie, you're seeing the planes going into the World Trade Center. That was back in, 8 months before it even happened. Chris Carter is telling you something in the movie. And in the movie, they asked, well, why are these people in the government doing it? And one of the guys in government said, because we need to control the Middle East. We need to control the oil flow. We need to have a dominant place in the Middle East so that we can promote wars, which is good for business. And but that's in a movie, and it shows the planes going into the World Trade Center. General Electric, about 3 or 4 years before 9/11, General Electric came out with a refrigerator in Italy. And on the face of the refrigerator, painted, were 2 jets flying into the World Trade Center. So it was a World Trade Center and 2 big planes flying into them. And I have many, many pictures from Hollywood showing 9/11, jets flying into the World Trade Center. So all I'm saying is that Hollywood knows what's going on. And this whole thing is being orchestrated from behind the scenes to knock down the World Trade Center. I mean, and the day it happened, I became so depressed, I just dropped out of speaking. I no longer toured. I no longer did radio. I no longer talked to anyone. And I've been out of commission for many years because 9/11 just shut me down. As far as I was concerned, I was through with America. I'm through with all of it. Because in any country that can buy 3 high-rises falling down into dust and not ask any questions about that, I just gave.
So basically, I'm sure 9/11 affected everyone. And I know it did because I remember the first time when I seen it happen through television. I was blown away by it in a way, not in a negative way, not to pun it, but I was in shock. And the first thing my mind was when, like myself being a medium, my heart hit so hard, like the energy in my heart hit so hard that I heard in my head 3,000 people lost their lives. 3,000 people were sacrificed, not by the planes, but by the people who use those explosives inside the towers. Because when I did my research, when I found out that the building itself was well built by the man who created the steel. Steel does not melt. If it does melt, it would melt at 3,000 degrees, not 300 degrees. Those planes would not have gone shot right through the walls. They would have just squished like a tin can, like a beer can. They would just squeeze right in, because that metal was so soft. There's no way that could have been paled in through the wall. And someone says, "Oh, well, there could have been a weak spot. It came right through." No, it never did. We already know that it was CGI. It was already planned a long time. Why did Building 7 go down? Why did it fall down? There's nothing was near it, because that was planned to have another plane to hit it. But someone forgot to use the camera to focus on Building 7 before it went down. Every pillar, every pylon down below was wrapped in black, which is actually all based on the explosives. They're the ones that blew it up. So who was involved inside? Who created all this? Well, there is a president of the United States that was active duty. And when he was at a children's school, if you look at the book, he's holding the book upside down. Now, why was he holding the book upside down? He wasn't reading to the kids. He was waiting for the, "Sir, they need you. The tower has fallen." Okay. So they already knew, and the person who planned it were father and son. And it was people above them as well, to make sure they wanted to create an impact of the world. And they had to sacrifice many people. And why, here's what really gets me. And I was so sad and upset that many people lost their lives in New York. And why is New York always the place that they want to do every bit of damage? Why is New York such a continuous hit? No matter where you go, historically, New York, like if it is the New York Stock Exchange, it's something else. The Dirty 30s, the New York got hit. The New York Stock Exchange, it got hit. Many other things happened that related to New York, that so many things that were horrible. Why New York? Because New York is under or above a what they call a satanic ritual. They call it a satanic ritual site, that people were to be sacrificed in the name of New York. Now, why did they? Well, number one, they didn't call it New York before. They called it York, and they even gave it a name before that previously. So this New York island was created on garbage. There was actually people that know, and if you look at the history of New York from the very beginning, very beginning, it was a small island, and they start to expand bigger and bigger, with all the garbage being dumped on the side to create a huge amount of whatever garbage and dirt. That's how they created New York. It was all because of the continuous of population of people living on this island. There's more to it, but I'm not saying that the people live in New York are bad. No, they're wonderful people, absolutely wonderful people. But a lot of these people were sacrificed. Why was the Ghostbusters filmed in New York? Why were all the bad demons used in that movie? Even the most recent movie, The Ghostbusters, where the demons are coming out of the underneath New York, and the also underneath, and there's actually showing the red hot manhole covers of all the evilness is coming out from inside the manhole covers, and they're shooting upwards. Well, gee, guess what, guys? There was actually, if you look at some of these old, not old, but some of these most recent videos, there were actually the real manhole covers in New York were flaming red off around the edges of the rims. As we speak today, a few weeks ago, they were hot as all heck. Why? Because there were people underground. That was underground tunnels, and they got blown up. They got rid of all the bad people that were there, but they also destroyed. No more human trafficking anymore. So why did New York get hit? Because it was one of the worst human trafficking locations in the United States. Not just one of them, but there's many other states at the time. But even Montreal, even Ontario, all those areas had all dealt with underground tunnels and human trafficking. Even Jordan knew all about this. Okay. I knew about this since 2019, and since 1971, 72. Not all the cities, but I knew about Canada. Okay, I knew all about this when I was a kid growing up, because kids are telling me, teenagers, I was a teenager then, not teenager, I was a 17, 18, but I was told already by people in my school of their fathers going to Calgary or Edmonton to go play poker or whatever have you, and they're actually keep talking about the underground city. And I thought maybe it was actually a nightclub called the Underground City. No, it was a real underground city. So they did exist, but nobody realized it was a city, not just a building. It was a city under a city. And then you would see these movies, in continuous amount of movies and film showing you, and even today, underground cities. Okay. If you look at Sylvester Stallone, they're above the ground, and then he went down below, underground city. Okay. There was so many other movies that relates to the future, and people are hiding underground city. Everything had an underground city. Why? Because anybody was involved in Hollywood, they're trying to show you there's underground cities. Okay. So it wasn't just something that they were saying, oh, well, we're going to have an underground city in this movie. No, these actually did exist, and they used them as film spots or filming locations. So it wasn't just always above ground, or, oh, we're going to try this cave over here. No, that's what they used, right? So like I said before, and the reason why I'm bringing up all of this, and then Jordan gave his life for many of you out there, for you to know the truth. It was very, very important in his heart. And like he said, it traumatized him when the tower got destroyed, or 2 towers or 3 towers got destroyed in New York. It broke his heart because he already knew He already knew all about it way before it was supposed to have happened. Okay. He knew all about it, but when you look at a picture, you look at a film or cartoon or whatever, and he's showing all this stuff ahead of time. People have been drawing pictures and doing film, and like he mentioned all those names of these movies, and there you go, right? But he thought it's just a movie until you find out, guess what, folks? We're in the movie. Now we're playing the same thing that they're using as those characters. And yes, I did see Keanu Reeves' photograph when he played that movie, where there's a photograph of him actually signing his contract, and it did say, 9/11. So I did show that 2001. It showed the towers in there. That was kind of crazy. So there's so many films, but yet I know there were a lot of actors that were on Jordan's side that wanted to support him and help him, or say, well, what can we do for you, right? And these are people that did not want to get caught up, and they knew about the darkness. They knew about the really crazy garbage. And let's see. Yeah, Diane says, I had a friend in the office. Yeah, sorry to hear about that. That was probably part of the tower. The crazy about this guy is, I'll tell you this. I had a client 2001. This is a few days just before 9/11. Come to my place, and I read him, and I said to him, before you decide to make a deal with Mexico. Now, he never told me anything regarding himself. I just said, well, I'm seeing you making a contract with Mexico, like a really, really big contract. So I'll do with lots of money. I said, but they're not going to sign it. Not saying they're not going to like it, but they're not going to sign it because they're not ready. Okay. And I said, but once they do, it'll be about 3 or 4 months before they get back to you on this. And he told me, he said, how is it that I actually have a contract with Mexico? But I said, he says, I can't wait for 2 or 3 months. This is over a $2.5 million deal. And I said, not right now. It's not going to happen. They're going to hang on to it, but eventually you'll have the opportunity. What happened was, I said, but I need to tell you this: don't go back to work. Anything that you, and by any means, do not go back to work. Take a vacation. Stay away from work. Just don't go back to work for at least a couple of weeks. Take a vacation, but don't go back to work. Why? Just don't go back to work. So he said, okay, I'll take your word for it. He did not go back to work, but 3 days later, he phoned me up and he said, Derrick, after 9/11, he said, Derrick, you freaked me out. I said, why? He said, I didn't go back to work like you told me to. I took your advice. He said, but I need to tell you this, but you didn't even know. He said, I worked for the New York Stock Exchange. Wow. Okay. He was supposed to have been there when that all happened because I talked him out of it. Now, why did he show up at my home? And why did he tell me, like ask me about this regarding, the contract? But I'm there to relay a message. I didn't know why. I just was told to say, don't go to work. And he didn't. So I was one of the people, and I'm sure there's many other psychics like myself that helped save others' lives that didn't go back to work. Or people actually have these feelings at home, and they'll say, oh, I got a migraine, I got a headache, or I don't feel like going to work today, I'm going to stay home. And they didn't. Okay. And they didn't go to work. Next thing you know, they lost their friends, their co-workers. And they're going like, holy crap, I was going to go, but I changed my mind. I stayed home and I felt sick, or just didn't feel like going in today. I took a day off. That's exactly what happens. Your intuition's kicking in and telling you not to be there. Right. So if you're feeling that feeling, trust that gut feeling. It's very, very important. Trust that gut feeling. It's telling you something. I also predicted also, I'm not giving myself a high amount of credit, but I'm actually one of the the that did predict the tsunami in Japan, but I didn't realize it's going to be that big. I mean, I remember seeing all these floods and fire and explosions and these people drowning, and I saw it was horrible. And I had a nightmare for 3 nights straight. And my good friend Ron Bard was supposed to go, like him and I were supposed to go together to Japan. That was in March the 10th. We're supposed to go there to do readings for corporate businesses. That was, I shared the story with you guys before. But the thing is that having these nightmares, and I trusted my guides saying, don't go. And I told Ron, you shouldn't go either. But he was an insistent one to go, thinking he's going to satisfy clients. And they paid him well. I mean, he was a great, one of the fantastic, it was the biggest, these are his biggest clients, or biggest, I would say, very rich clients that helped him pay for his bills, because he lived in New York. He was from New York too. So he asked me, he said, well, I'll take my daughter with me this time. He said, well, is anything going to happen to me? I said, no, but you need to be, if you're going to be there in New York or in Japan, you're going to have to go to the tallest hotel and stay there. Like, you know, you'll be safe. But if you take other floors or anything close by where this is going to happen, don't go there. I just said Sapporo. I kept on saying Sapporo. So he followed my word, took my word for it. And 3 days after he was there, 3 days after, okay, here's that 3 days after again. I just thought about it just now. 3 days after, same thing, 9/11, 3 days after, they had the tsunami. And I didn't go. And I'm going, oh shit, I wonder how Ron's doing. Ron was stuck there for a month. He was supposed to be, him and I, like, if I was supposed to be with him, I would have been there for maybe no more than a couple of weeks, but it'd be the first time for me to go to Japan. So he never really had a chance to go further with those people. His daughter came home, he came home, but he was very, very ill after he came home. So I strongly feel that there possibly could be radiation, whatever it was. He was not doing that well after, as far as his health is concerned. It could have been from the radiation. There was too much of it. They lost over 1.5 million people in Japan on that. Not this recent one, the one previously before. And it saddened me to know I lost a really good friend, because he's the only one that trusted me. And he said, you know, I worked with lots of readers, lots of psychics. He says, but I've always liked your work. And you're so good. I would want you to come with me. And he trusted me to come. So I was all for it. Let's go. I want Japan. Sure. I want Japan, you know, first time for me. But no, I didn't go because I trusted my gut feeling not to do it. Right. So anyways, we did lose Ron. He passed away a year later, and it was sad. And but the thing is that we got to keep on going. Many of us have to keep on going. You know, we keep on doing our work. So like, as I talked about tonight regarding Ron, or regarding Jordan Maxwell, it's important that you learn the stories and the history. This is going to give you a bit of a better understanding or understanding of why Jordan actually has been exposing the truth. He's been doing it for years. Now, you see some of the film that he has shared with you over this past hour and a half. Okay. Now, I want to share with you guys some of the reads in his book that he has written. And you can go online. You can go on. This is the book called The Matrix of Power. Okay, you can see it from here. Matrix of Power. Get this book, order it, and get it for yourself. Read it all the way through. And even if you're Canadian, get the book. You learn a lot from it. Okay, I read 2 pairs of glasses because this is finer print. But this is going to help you to understand a lot about this, why he kept on saying why he talks about all these meanings. Now, what we're going to talk about, and this is what you normally see a lot. Okay. Everyone's always talking about the all-seeing eye. And I've had people tell me, oh, the all-seeing eye is demonic and it's satanic and da-da-da-da. And the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati is seen in the back of the US dollar bill. Oh, it's horrible. It's the evil, evil, evil. Now, I've had so many people from all over the world, and you got the eye in Horus, you got the eye in many other things, but see, your eye of Horus, of the Egyptian eye, that's part of your pineal gland. You have a third eye, folks. You got a third eye right here. This is not evil. And yet people say, oh no, if you open that third eye, you're doing evil things. Horse crap. Okay. That has helped me see the future. I have seen my third eye. I had a meditation, closed my eyes. I watched my third eye open up, and it looked normal like this eye, not like this eye in a triangle. It was a normal eye. There are actually people that lived on this earth hundreds of years ago that had 3 eyes. You will see a movie that just recently came out, will be coming out very soon at DC Comic. Okay, Doctor Strange, and you'll see him, but before the end of the movie, his third eye opened up. That's him showing you foreseeing the future. That is normal. Everyone has a third eye. We all do. Some of you actually will see your third eye, others don't. You actually believe that, when you meditate, you're looking through the thought form and you're looking at the vision here. That is your third eye. You are visualizing an image. You are seeing yourself doing whatever you're doing in your dreams and visions, in a meditation, in a dream. It's still there. That's part of your third eye. And I did see my third eye. I was totally blown away. I wasn't scared. And yet some people go, oh, shit, what'd I do? I scared myself. Look at my pants. Anything in there? No. But they've taken it where they're making the third eye as evil as possible. There are other items that people will use that represent the evil eye, where they look like the evil eye, but it's actually to protect you. Okay. Everyone, you will use different kinds of symbolisms that relate to whatever you need for protection, if you so choose. I do make healing tools with the third eye in it, and it's fun. It's not going to harm anyone. It is just fun. Okay, whether it's a dragon eye, whether it's a gecko eye, I make all these items. They're not evil. Do I look evil? No, I do God's work and have always done God's work all my life. But I enjoy being creative, making items that people enjoy using. I actually make bags with eyes on them, and I call them, and they make smaller ones too for the size of your phones, and I call them iPhone bags for your iPhones. Pun, get it? People loved it. People love that stuff. You can, and there's people, all the people are trying to do is be creative. We're not being toxic. We're not trying to harm anyone. We're trying to show the love and the nurturing, the care of what we make. If people are attracted to the third eye, they're not always have to be attracted to the bad things, but they call everything the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati. Now, in fact, this is what Jordan had said. In fact, I myself adhere and believe the teachings to be a very fine and fundamental concept concerning the way to lead one's life. But you must understand that it is a story that has been retold and retold and retold. So if you understand that understand it correctly, what I would call understanding Christianity, you would understand the basic principles that are being discussed rather than hanging everything on just as a story. Okay. Reason and logic alone would tell you that you have to ask questions. Did all those people back in the biblical times go around with the tape recorders or court stenographers and check every single word every prophet spoke, or check up on every character in the Bible and what he did and where he went and what he spoke? And did they have tape recorders? No. Did they have scribes? Possibly, maybe not. But do you ever see a scribe standing in a crowd? You ever seen any drawing pictures of people scribing what Jesus had shared? No. Do you have people actually would remember what Jesus had spoken about? People would gather to hear him, but not everyone was a follower. They were just newbies coming into the group and say, oh, I didn't know about this. And then that's how it started. How do we know that every single word must be exactly that word? And every single event must coincide with every single simple word. So there's only one way you could get a book to coincide and fall in line completely as a beautiful whole story, as if it was written as a story. So that is what I'm saying. The Bible was written as a very beautiful story. If you understand that's all it was, a story. Okay. Now there's some good history in the Bible. Now this is Jordan's not disrespecting the Bible. He's not cutting down Christianity. He's showing you what they're saying. Okay. He's trying to tell you something here. I am not saying that the Bible is not a good word of God. I just don't believe that it is the only divine book written in the world. And he's right. There is actually 777 scriptures that the Vatican had hidden away for generations. Generations, as in hundreds of years. The true 777 scriptures that was of true faith of God. And why did they remove them from the Bible? Because if you knew the truth, you would not need the Pope. You would not need the priests. Did you know that? That's why they removed them. And why 777 scriptures? Because there were 777 scrolls written by many writers that had listened and written. And that's why we had Martin Luther, who actually himself was German. He was practicing priest. He didn't believe in what the popes was doing back then. Very bad stuff to the people. And it was back in those years, during that time period, in Germany, it was illegal for the public, the citizens, to learn English, to learn the language. They were not allowed to even write. They were not allowed to do math. It was illegal. They weren't allowed to do anything, and they weren't even allowed to wear colored clothing to look like, a middle-class person. They were by law, they had to wear black or brown or gray, and that just shows you that they had to keep you dumbed down. You were never allowed to eat perfect bread. You had to, when the bread was making, they used to you ever hear the name stone ground bread? Well, they would use stones to ground the bread, the oats and the wheat, and the stones would actually break apart in pieces, the stone grains. So by the time it gets down to the people who actually got the bread, there actually is stone, broken stone inside, and they would eat that with the flour, and that would grind down their teeth to almost being flat. That's why you can tell if a person is poor by the leveling of the teeth was actually much shorter than actually having someone who was very rich, who had the best of everything. Their teeth was perfect. Okay. They were chewing down stones and eating stones in their gut. So this is your history. This is what this is all about, folks. How do we know? Let's see here. Now that there's some good history in the Bible, I'm not saying that the Bible is not the word of God, but I don't believe that it is the only divine word written in the world. And he's right. Okay. If you understand that the world was at one time dominated by the Vatican, and there was a world war. In fact, there have been 2 world wars between powerful secret societies for power on this earth. One is the New World Order as opposed to the Old and the World Order. I believe that is why the world wars have been fought. That's why we're having skirmishes all over the world. We're not going to achieve a new world order without paying for it in blood and as well in as words and money. This is Arthur Schlesinger Jr. in the Foreign Affairs, and he wrote that in August 1995. Jordan says, I have 2 books in my collection right now. One was printed in 1969, another in 1972 or in 1973, talking about how Yugoslavia, okay, now he's talking about Yugoslavia because basically Yugoslavia is no longer just one country. It's actually broken up. But was going to be divided between the secret societies. Okay, there we go. They were going to go in and cause a lot of confusion and chaos and break up the status quo there purposely in relation to this New World Order coming. So there's got to be some connections here between what's happening today when there are very knowledgeable people that have foretold that these things were going to happen in Yugoslavia. So you got Croatia, you got Serbia, you got Macedonia, you got, like there's so many different countries that or townships or cityships that got broken up because of all this. This is all part of the secret society. Okay. And they actually created the war to kill each other. My wife's mother, okay, was part of that Second World War. She actually was a war bride, or actually say her husband they are indentured and came to Canada from Croatia, but they learned 8 different languages while they're caught up in the middle of that war at the time. Nothing happens by happenstance, but this is all being orchestrated by some small group of people. And I truly don't think that there are a lot of things that happen by chance. And I don't think the important things politically are allowed to happen by chance. And keep in mind, when you hear government officials talk about crime and drugs, saying that they can't seem to get a handle on the drug traffic, and they can't seem to get a handle on the crime in the streets, and they're just not able to get a handle on these serious problems. Just remember that almost 60 years ago, the United States got a handle on Nazi Germany. They did get control of the standing army of Adolf Hitler on the other side of the world. Now, in one point, Adolf Hitler did not lose the war. Adolf Hitler still won the war. The war was never over. It was actually the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds that said, no, we're not going to supply you any more money, Adolf. We're going to actually make a deal. We're going to make a deal with the American president, and they're going to sign a deal with, we're going to give them 13 scientists to create NASA. And so basically these 13 German scientists came to the United States. The deal was, we'll let America sign this, say, we'll let America say they won the war. It was the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs that actually made this happen. It had nothing to do with the United States winning the war. It was never done. Okay. And Hitler did not die. He actually survived. And I have the true facts of that, because a friend of mine, a very famous medium, Kenny Kingston, told me himself that his barber, a barber that he had himself, was the very same barber who actually was Hitler's barber. And Hitler's barber seen him after the war, accidentally, in Austria. I'm not kidding you. So my point is that any crime that goes on, or on any drug trafficking, and that goes on and is on in knowledge and consent, if not cooperation of a very powerful group of people who have their reasons. It might just be to keep you frightened to death and keep you worried about the future, so that you will accept anything that they give you, and any kind of idea that they'll come up with to distract you from the real truth. Now, we've been talking about that. He said, Jordan said this from the very beginning. He said that no one will believe the truth. They rather believe the lie, because then they don't have to listen to the truth. That means that they escape away and say, well, you just do what you got to do in this country. Okay. They're afraid of that. So, just let me say that I don't believe that the whole world is totally controlled, but reason and logic alone dictate the possibility of that happening. Always, anytime a country goes to war or is building up for a future war, all countries picture their coming enemy as a desperate murderer, killing babies or whatever. If you've got to generate that kind of furor, okay, in the people's minds, so that it will just justify going to war with this terrible person or a whole body of people in any given country, like Saddam Hussein, okay, or anybody else. These hidden agendas are contrived by the media and the press, and they led America, if not instigated the energy into war with Saddam. This could be been called outright propaganda, although it really is news. And he capitalized the word NEWS. Okay. It is called the evening news. Of course, we see these terrible, evil people on the news. Then later on, we'll hear that the president has some kind of an arrangement with that person and give him $50 billion of our money. And then you get to see them patting each other on the back to go off to their local Masonic lodges together. Yes, all the leaders, okay, all the people that go to war with each other from different countries are all Masonic people. They're all part of the Masonry. But come to find out, this is a business arrangement. Yesterday, this guy was our duplicate enemy, and today he is our friend, and we're supporting his agenda. We are being duped. Throughout the history of humankind, the vast majority of people have been duped by a few that are in power. We sit here like sitting suckers with a sign hung out of in front of us, whether on the American lawns, Canadian lawns, you say, whatever it is, you're saying, come on, here is your next ready-made sucker. Okay, today, the American, Canadian, or anybody who in public, the plain old ordinary American public or Canadian public, you name it, has been duped from the day one, and that we continue to allow this horrendous duplicity. A few years ago, a movie came out that was called Network. You guys remember that movie Network, right? If you don't, look at the movie. In the network, broadcasters said that the general view of the people was, just leave me alone. I don't care about all of this. Just leave me and have my radial tires, my beer, my remote control, and my television, and I'll be numbed out to happy. Every day, the powers of the government keep moving on you, little by little, until one day there is no more freedom. And that is exactly what is happening in our country. Today, in my opinion, we have already lost most of our real freedom to the federal government, and that might be coming. And they're talking about, Henry Kissinger said it best. Today, America will be outraged if the UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order, referring to the 1991 LA riot. Tomorrow, they will be grateful, and this is especially true if they were told that they were an outside threat from beyond. Example, an extraterrestrial invasion. Whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence, it is then, and all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown, and when presented this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the New World Order government. And this is Henry Kissinger, who believes that Henry Kissinger himself actually was part of the New World Order. I believe that the real freedom is in mind, and this is Jordan saying this. In the intellectual brain, that's where real freedom is happening. And there is something to do with our spirituality in the mind, which brings freedom. And that is the one place that the government fears. And most you mind your thinking, your ability to be yourself and do your own thinking, call your own shots, and be your own person. That's exactly what governments do not want for every world citizen. They try to keep you busy so they can pay, so that you can pay your bills, pay your taxes, take care of your house, and when you finish taking care of all the details of survival, the government will hopes that you will not have the time or even try not to think about some of the things that has been talking about in this book, and the government still has plans to take more from you. And if there is leisure time among the much of the population, they will give you entertainment that keep you completely distracted, anything to prevent you from thinking more deeply. Just make sure there is plenty of drugs, plenty of entertainment, a little sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that will keep the people happy. Keep them occupied so they will stay out of the way and they're controlled by your government. I'm not saying that people should not be able to do this, but it would be behooving that you go get an education, read, study, investigate. What I am saying on your own, take the responsibility to find these things out that I am reporting here. Go to the library, check out, read something about the occult world, about how we are manipulated, especially in our politics and religion. I could provide you with a list of literally hundreds of very informative and interesting volumes on these subjects. Today, these are many secret fraternal organizations that are interconnected, and they have a death grip on world power. Behind the scenes, our world and lives are so full of symbolism. For example, once again, on the back of the American dollar bill, the Great Seal of America. It is filled with the occult meaning. You'll find out on the dollar bill the eagle, which comes from the ancient concept of the phoenix, and has 13 stars above it. The 13 stars are arranged in configuration of the Star of David or the hexagram. Most people think that the 13 stars represent the original 13 colonies. It is not. In the first place, why did they have to have 13 colonies? Why couldn't they have 27 colonies or 24 colonies or 10? Then one understands that the number 13 is a very important, profound Masonic number, as well as Rosicrucians. Then you will follow this connecting thread of material to see that what was actually being created, they knew what they were doing when they divided this country into 13 colonies. Now, the number 13 is not an unlucky number. For them, it's an unlucky number for you. The number 13 comes from Jesus and his 12 apostles. The 12 apostles were cornerstones of the new era, and Jesus is referred to as the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected. Twice in the New Testament, Jesus is referred to as the chief cornerstone. Chief cornerstone is a Greek word that means the peak of the pyramid. That's why there is a little pyramid on top of a big pyramid on the left-hand side on the back of the dollar bill. That is the chief cornerstone. It is symbolic of Jesus. The pyramid also has 13 layers. As a matter of fact, 13 is all over the back of the American dollar bill. I would have to say that the Illuminati, under their various guises and names, run the affairs of the world. Freemasonry is a very ancient fraternal order. For thousands of years, it was made up of many different groups, which loosely fit into an association of builders going back to the most ancient times in which men built with bricks, such as pyramids of Egypt and all the ancient temples. They were brick builders. Even today, we refer to one working with bricks as a brick mason. The trade of a mason, or conceptual idea of building with bricks, was a building trade. There were men who did nothing but that, and they were referred to as brick masons. They came down through ancient history and began to jealously guard each other's work and not let any newcomers come into the trade. They had unions, so to speak. We do the same thing today. Later in 1717, there's that 1717, guys. Many occult orders and many of the building trade orders of Freemasonry came together in London and began what we building trade order and what we call Freemasonry on the modern day scale. Now, the modern day Freemasonry was started in 1717. But the idea goes back to the ancient Egypt and other ancient civilizations. If you understand that the ancient Masons built their world with brick, then you understand why today's Freemasons say of themselves that they are the modern day builders of the world. They not only build a building that you live in and to do business in, but they are building the structure of the world as Freemasons. They are building their religions, your political establishments. All you have to do is to go to the library and get reference books on flags, national coat of arms, symbols, and emblems of different countries and different international organizations. They are all Freemasonic symbols. Also interesting in the fact that a lot of graffiti that is being seen in large cities throughout this country, are Masonic symbols. Only high-degree Freemasons would know that. A lot of black gangs and the Mexican gangs spread graffiti around our cities. Much of that graffiti is very powerful Masonic symbolism. This leads me to wonder how these kids know those symbols. I am suggesting that there is some connection between occult Freemasonry and the spread of violence and crime in our country. I think we had better look at some very uncomfortable, but very positively important connections that can be made between crime on the streets and the elitist people that run this country who are allowing it to happen. There are reasons. I think that crime in this country is being allowed for a purpose. A lot of people may feel this way, but nobody is saying it publicly. And if you look at it, when they had, even during the lockdowns and after the lockdowns, and they talked about Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, the police officers never got involved. They stepped back and let the people do all the damage. That was all controlled by the Freemasons because George Soros was part of it. He is the one that financially paid for all this to happen. Okay. Now we must ask, where is this going? Well, where are the occult orders that control most of the important political and religious events of this world trying to lead this planet? I think that for hundreds of years, there has been a concerted effort to lead the world into a new world order, a completely new civilization where human beings will no longer have or be the same type of humans that they were in the past. Now, we are being guided into a new age, and there is a new world order that is being orchestrated. All the violence and destruction that we are seeing today is destroying the old world in preparation for the new world. You cannot construct a high-rise building where there is an old shack until you tear down the old shack. Today, we are having wars and bloodshed everywhere, and so that we can destroy the power base of the good old boys in different countries, then the new world order can be set up. Now, before I go any further, he wrote this book, folks, long before they talked about the New World Order. He knew. This book was published in the year 2000. 24 years ago, Jordan predicted this. He knew that it was coming. I'm not kidding you guys. Everything we talk about here right now, Jordan has predicted this. Jordan Maxwell had predicted the New World Order. He predicted all of this is going on. He knew it. So I cannot escape the conclusion that there is something very, very high and extremely wise and perceptive as to how to make things happen to bring about a certain conclusion. I tend to believe that that being or entity is something spiritual. I believe there's something spiritual happening in our world today, but it is also uses men, powerful men, and these powerful men often get greedy and may not follow their higher calling properly. They're only human, and power is intoxicating. I am concerned for the future because of the loss of individuality and a loss of human ability, freedom, and the liability to think. That is one thing about this country that I am thankful for, that we have the opportunity to discuss things intelligently with each other and give each other the opportunity to be heard, because it is how we grow. However, I think that personal evolution is being stifled. More and more, the governmental powers from behind the scenes are quietly making sure that people don't talk too much about things that are controversial. I think that human minds are being remolded and reprogrammed so that the people don't really have to think a whole lot more anymore. We must go along to get along, and whatever the government says we do, whatever the church says we do, and whatever our assigned authorities say to do, we do. I think that is where the real problem is going to exist. Let's step back a moment and consider the Vatican, as it existed in the time of the AD of 600s. The earth was regarded as being the center of the universe. People were controlled by the church. They lived for the church. The only hope that they had was that they would go to heaven, but not to hell. And everything else was basically business as usual. That worked quite well for hundreds of years, but this system became rather difficult to uphold when people found out that the earth wasn't the center of the universe, And when the church began to lose a lot of its credibility and power, now I think a few people are trying to gain similar power and control over people, but not necessarily through the church. They are trying to regain such power through new secular means because the people have been infected with this idea of freedom and liberty and individual rights to think for themselves, for themselves. Consequently, the church is not going to operate well. Churches never operate well in an environment where people are allowed to be themselves and to do their own thinking and call their own shots in their lives. So now, instead of being afraid of going to hell, people are going to be conditioned to be afraid of total destruction through world wars or environmental collapses. He just started it. Climate control. This is the year 2000. He predicted this. This is Jordan Maxwell. Okay. Environmental collapses or some other terrible catastrophe coming, even an alien invasion. Okay. There is enough out there that some very brilliant people can come up with something that will scare the life out of all of us. Not to mention that nature itself can be very frightening with such phenomenon as volcanoes, earthquakes, direct energy weapons, etc. And I wonder how much of that is man-made. There is considerable high technology in this world that is operational too. The underlying agenda has been control and more control through fear. So one of the basic messages I'm trying to get across is to rid yourself of fear. Do not fear. Rid yourself of fear and educate yourself. Become informed as broadly as you possibly can. Go to the libraries, internet services, whatever you provide you the best of knowledge, and check out books on the occult history of this world. A word of warning. The word occult has been grossly misrepresented by the media. Most people, when they hear the word occult, think immediately of demons and the boogeyman. That is not true. This is yet another way that we are being manipulated because we are being told over and over again that there is something mysterious and dark and unnerving and something very fearful about the occult. Everything else is okay. We are too. Religion is fine, but the occult offers something that is very dangerous, according to the government. Once you understand what is going on, you find out that some very crafty people have not told you what they are doing and how they are doing it, and they are working some real heavy-duty magic upon you. You are nothing more than a sitting duck because you don't understand the process. The word occult means hidden. That simply is all it means. Anything that is hidden is occult. I'm talking about the hidden powers behind the throne, the hidden powers behind the religion, the hidden innuendos behind any day symbolism. People who have accepted the authorities as a truth find it very difficult to accept the truth as authority. Authority does not always come with the truth, and truth does not always come with authority. The bottom line is, no matter what you believe, there is a truth that resonates within your heart and everyone else's. There is a factual truth that can be pointed out, but you have to look for it. If however you go along to get along, and if you accept your government's view of everything, and if you accept your particular religious persuasion of things, then you're no different than the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Muslims and all other people we condemn throughout the world, or those silly radicals who follow the views of their leaders and blow up buildings, burning them down without asking questions. We may like them, find ourselves being in wars, killing people without even questioning this authority because they are doing it for the Lord. Is that really the Lord? In what way are we any different if they do the same, if we do the same? What is important is that you maintain your own individuality and an intelligent human being and do your own homework, do your thinking because becomes grounded in the truth. In this particular time in which we are living, to be able to speak freely is going to be very important in the very near future. Our freedoms are being very closely watched and are being monitored. You are being monitored every day. This is the possibility that we are going to lose our freedom of speech quite soon. On this planet, there are no passengers, we're all the crew. And so we all have a stake in what is happening in this world. Whether we want to deal with it or not, we have to face what is going on in the world around us, and especially with our rights as free citizens. H.G. Wells, the writer, said that civilization is nothing more than a race between education and catastrophe. And that is what we have coming. Catastrophe is looking at us from all corners of the globe. Certainly from the standpoint of the New World Order, the Talmud states that if there is no knowledge, then there is no understanding. If there is no understanding, then there is no knowledge, and that's what we have today. A whole lot of no understanding, and that is about for time for people who do know to speak up. President Woodrow Wilson once said, if you want to make enemies, just try to change something. So I know that anyone who tries to bring to the public the facts behind the world that we live in is going to be criticized and condemned. I believe that there are enough people in this world who want to know the truth and who want to be willing to stand and fight for it, not in the violent, literal sense, but with higher moral values, with your voice, and stand strong, upholding free ethical standards and a deeper understanding to be well informed. Let me explain one of the main problems and tragedies in the world today. In the case of one who knows or has wisdom, he is usually aware that he doesn't know everything. It is usually the man who thinks he knows everything, who doesn't know anything. One of the most important ways of learning anything today in our society is through symbols and emblems. Emblems are like words. If you can't read the emblems or symbols, you don't know what the story is revealing. This is especially true in religion. We are seeing so much in what is said to be religion, and yet, especially in fact, it is nothing more than politics. And of course, politics are religion, and religion is politics. There has never been a religious movement on earth that wasn't a little political, and there has never been a political move that didn't have a little religion involved in it. I want to focus on the religion that is prominent in our country, and that is Christianity. And before I get into the subject, I want to emphasize that I don't appreciate anyone placing anyone else in a narrow box or pigeonholing me and deciding that who I am in my belief systems or where I am coming from. Because if you don't know me, you don't know where I'm coming from. I'm not a communist. I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a racist. I'm not a human being with something to say. I belong to no political party. Consequently, I am not coming from any particular place. I'm just a human being, a researcher, a teacher, an investigative writer. I enjoy doing what I do, and I have been centered for over 35 years doing what I do, and that's all about time I bring my work to the public. Now, Jordan talked about 35 years. Actually, it was 60 years worth of research. Now we see in this country on television, and senators and everybody, all the civic leaders are all into Christianity and going to church and being fine people. However, for being fine people, we find that many are not really fine. As a matter of fact, an honest politician these days is one who did not take a bribe and that he didn't earn. And so let's face it, our system of government has fallen apart and is collapsing all around us. And the reason why is that it was built on lies. Perhaps one of the greatest lies or misconceptions, and let's be generous here to be maybe identify some misunderstandings. It is the truth about Christianity. I would like to deal with Christianity first and get that out of the way, because until such time as the people understand where Christianity came from, how it was organized, and how it teaches what it does, we're not going to understand the mentality behind it. And we're talking about the white mentality. If we go back, say 10 to 15,000 years ago into the ancient world, you should understand that they didn't have the modern day conveniences that we do. They didn't have the television to occupy their time and waste their lives. They didn't have the nice warm homes and cars and all such things to keep them occupied. Those were very hostile times in an inhospitable world. It was fearful and cold and very difficult for human beings to survive, most especially in Europe. Most adults died from around 25 to 30 years of age. It was a very hostile world for humans to live, to eke out the barest of existence. We're talking again about 10 to 15,000 years ago. It was obvious from the beginning, according to the best material that has been provided to us from history, and that's the best we have from ancient records, that the first enemy for man was darkness. The first thing man realized that it was frightening to his world, it was just plain darkness. It was bad enough to live through the daytime, and when the sun went down, it got scary because they were predator animals out there. There were enemies lurking in the bush. Nighttime became very fearful. So nighttime became very fearful to our first hominids. When you understand the kind of world that those conditions, from there you began to appreciate how they perceived the coming of that orb of the day, or the sun, as something to look forward to with relief. Because when the sun went down, you got nothing to look forward to but potentially frightful problems. And of course, if you have ever been out on the cold night, you can imagine what our first ancestors 15,000 years ago had to look forward to when it really got cold at night. You can appreciate why they would look forward to coming of the sun, or the coming of that great orb of day. Now, if you begin to see how these philosophies would come into people's minds and begin to grow, and their children growing up would begin to accept the same philosophies and ideas and promote them to their children, and their children to their children, and you begin to see how the philosophy became one of war between light and darkness, which was light was good, and of course, because the light was usually peaceful and it was good, and that which was dark was bad. Thereby, this primitive understanding was the basis for the animosity between the light and the darkness. And well, we know, and we have seen a lot of that, because that is carried over into our society sociologically, regarding the war between light and darkness. And as I see, light was good and dark was bad. The sun, of course, was that light of the world, and they understood that. The ancients were not stupid. They saw that the sun was not God. They never believed that the sun was God, but they believed that it was the reproduction of God. It was the offspring of God. It was the closest symbol of that could be to grasp to the deity in heaven. And so they figured that since your sun, S-O-N, looks a lot like you, well, maybe God looks a lot like the sun, S-U-N, or that the son looks a lot like the father. And so they realized this is about the sun, S-U-N, and I'm using the word as an Anglo-Saxon word today, the orb in the sky, or whatever you want to call it, back then was understood to be the descendant of the Father, who was the creator of the heavens. And so therefore they realized that the sun, S-U-N, did not belong to anyone. It belonged to the heavens, or it belonged to God. And so it was God's son, S-O-N, and every morning it was in the sky, or it was in heaven. So therefore, God's Son, S-O-N, in heaven, was in heaven, as said, it was the Son or the offspring of the Father. They believe that no one has ever seen the Father. No one can see God, but if the Son looks like God, S-U-N, then maybe the Son mimicked God. So when you have seen the Son, then maybe you have seen the Father. So there's more here, but I wanted to share that with you guys, who's important, because Jordan shares a lot of what's in here. I mean, it's very, very important to know what it's all about. And even the story about the White House, which relates to also in England, they call the White Hall. There's so much here symbolic, and I wanted to share this with you guys. And I think I'm going to share with you guys the very last film that Jordan had done or had shared before he passed. I was there when it happened. Bring this one in. Please like and share this to everybody. Let them all know that you strongly support. Now, I've had people there was actually some guy out there, some idiot, tries to defame Jordan since his past and say, oh no, he was a follower, he was evil, this and no, Jordan was not. There's always going to be somebody trying to be an ass about their beliefs. Where is you, Jordan? Is one here? No, it's not in this one. I know it's not. No, it's not there. So it's in here. In my file. His last story that he wanted to share. I was blown away by this man. I mean, I was very fortunate to get to know him as a friend, very good friend, and I didn't get a chance to know him enough. I wish Jordan was still here today, because but he predicted so many things. I mean, this book itself, he was predicting, but this is written in the year 2000, but he predicted stuff in here already that's already happened. So that's why I'm just like, when you read the book and you reread it, and you think, holy crap, he was everything that had happened in this world, he already said it. I wonder if it's in here. Let me look. His last speech. There it is. Okay. Okay. This is for you guys. This is the last one that Jordan. This is from the UFO Mega Conference. I was there, like I said before. This is worth your while to watch. So have a watch, and please like and share. Pass this around to everybody when you get a chance. I'll make this bigger. Share this on the screen. Okay, here we go.
I'm aware of the influence of secret societies, secret groups like the Mafia, the Cosa Nostra, the underworld organizations that operate all around us. They feed us, they give us our clothes, they conduct construction. The whole world, especially the world, that kind of world that we live in, is really run by organized crime. And in my opinion, the most criminal organization that's ever existed on the face of the earth, in my opinion, after 60 years of inquiring, I am totally sure it is the Vatican. The Vatican is the most incredible corrupt, dirtiest governmental system on the earth. And it has impacted America, it's impacted our country and our government, and it's an incredible story. So I set for myself the goal of studying as much as I could every day about the secret societies that run the world. And that started in 1959. Later on, after a few years, I came across a man named Anthony Helder. And Anthony Helder was a very big name in Hollywood at the time. And he had produced a series of records, 33rd and 33 and a third records, all three of them. And it was called Illuminati. And in it, he had another man named Myron Fagan explain how the Illuminati secret societies operate in the world today. And it was the most incredible subject I have ever heard, most outrageous lecture I've ever heard. If you would like to hear it, it's on my website. I have a copy of it. I put it on my website. My website is Jordan Maxwell Show, SHOW. You have to add the word show, jordanmaxwellshow.com.
That wasn't all of it, but apparently I think there's more to that. That's a shorter version of it. Let's see if I could find. That's someone else's. The White Hats. Let's see here. Quickly here, if I could find it. We're going to put it in a file. Oh, I know where it is. Okay, it would be in this one here. There. Let's see. Okay. There it is. There's me and Jordan together. That's us at the UFO conference. So we had a great time there, both him and I. And he, like, very pleasant man to spend time with. He was just a fabulous guy. So I forgot that. Turn it around. Sorry, guys. There we go. There's Jordan. So, and if you want to know more about Jordan's work, you can also go on YouTube, type in Jordan Maxwell and type in my name, and you'll find a couple of interviews I've done with him. I think that's pretty well it. Yeah. I'm going to be, they recorded me when I did the presentation, so I'm going to transfer it to my computer and I'll put it on the website or on the YouTube, and you guys can, or I guess I'll just play it through the show. You guys get a chance to see my presentation, what I did. But no, Jordan was a great guy and very good man. Really enjoyed his company and is quite soft-spoken, good man. He's fabulous guy. I can't say anything more about that. But anyways, guys, I want to really appreciate you guys for being here late with me, past midnight. And I was on late because, like I said, I was actually in a board meeting. So I wanted to share this with you. I felt it was very important to do this. So in the meantime, take good care of each other. Please like and share this if you get a chance on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And I'll be taking this and put it into Rumble and the recording of it. And if you want to also find me on Telegram, I'm on Telegram. You'll find my page called True North Strong and Free. That's where I'll be at. And busy as all heck, trying to do as much as I can to work with people from all over the world, trying to share as much information as possible. Like like I'm just totally shocked when I didn't realize that parts of the book that I read, I didn't realize that Jordan already predicted the future. He was putting down things in here already that did happen. I mean, this is phenomenal. I'm surprised not everybody actually even found it, but and it's a good thing. So, anyways, we're gonna go out. So, thank you guys so much for being on the program, and we'll see you guys next week and next Thursday. And if anybody out there is actually around this weekend, if you're in the territory of BC here, I'm going to be, or Vancouver, I'm going to be in Squamish on the reserve. Actually, there is one of the centers there on the Joe Mathias Center. It's got the address is 100 address from Joe Mathias Center. Yeah. Saturday and Sunday, I'll be there selling my crafts. So come on out and say hello if you're in the neighborhood, right? So, yeah. So anyway, guys, be good to each other. We'll see you guys and take care.
Everyone lives, everyone dies. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world, we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Isn't it time, brother, stop dying? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one hurt, with one need, we all feel